Hello and welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of 5G connections. I'm your friend David Pierce, and today on the show, we're going to talk about phones. Kind of. We're going to talk about this new set of AI devices that appear to be coming for us that are not phones. At least the companies who are making them claim that they're not phones, but they seem to be a lot like phones. They're AI-centric. They are, in some cases, made by companies who want you to use their AI products. And they're trying desperately to unseat the smartphone while seemingly discovering that the only way to do that is to make a smartphone. David Imel, who's with The Verge this summer, is going to come on and we're going to talk through what OpenAI, SpaceX, and Amazon, and potentially many others are up to, and whether any of them can build anything that isn't a smartphone that actually makes you replace your smartphone. All that's coming in just a second, but first, here's what else is happening on The Verge today. This is 90 Seconds on The Verge for Monday, July 27th, 2026. A bunch of big AI companies, including NVIDIA, Microsoft, SpaceX, IBM, and a whole host of others, are creating a new group called the Open Secure AI Alliance. It comes after NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang shared an open letter last week arguing in favor of open models in general. It became a whole thing over the weekend who signed that letter and who didn't. That particular drama isn't all that interesting. But the US AI industry is clearly concerned with how fast China's AI is improving, and in part it's improving that fast because its models are so much more open. That means some big questions are left to answer about how we build and share AI going forward. Meanwhile, it appears Amazon is gearing up to start competing for real with Starlink for satellite internet supremacy. It filed an FCC application over the weekend to deploy 5,105 new satellites starting in 2028, and said it plans to partner with mobile carriers to offer direct-to-satellite service, kind of like Starlink does with T-Mobile right now. Right now, Amazon's LEO service is way behind Starlink, way behind. But the company bought Globalstar's network earlier this year and has said it intends to offer its own service going forward. There's even been a rumor recently that Amazon might be building a phone again. I wonder if those things are connected. And finally, The Verge's Antonio Di Benedetto just dropped his review of the Framework Laptop 13 Pro, which is frankly one of the most exciting things to happen to Windows PCs this year. It's modular, it's repairable, it has good battery life and performance, and almost everything else you would want. It is also, thanks to the ongoing RAM shortage, $3,100. That's up $800 since it was announced just in April. Ramageddon comes for us all. You can read more about all this at theverge.com. That is 90 Seconds on The Verge for Monday, July 27th. All right, let's talk phones that aren't phones. David Imel is here. Hey, buddy.
Hello.
The Verge is David Imel. Waveform's David Imel. Davidimel.com's David Imel.
That's right.
Just the David Imel. He's here.
Right.
Good to have you back. So I've brought you here to talk about phones, but not actually to talk about phones. I've just become obsessed with this thing that seems to be happening where a bunch of companies are looking for a way to put AI into a device that makes it the most important thing in your life. And basically, if you're not Apple or Google, you can't. You just don't have an option for a bunch of reasons we should probably get into here. But what you now have a bunch of other companies doing, I think most reported, OpenAI, SpaceX, and Amazon are all believed to be, reported to be in the process of making something that they would love you to believe is not a phone, but might have an awful lot in common with a phone. And what I want to try to figure out here is whether A, that's possible, B, what it would be, and like at what point is your not phone just a phone, and what's the line you need to avoid crossing, and C, whether this could even possibly work. Does this all make sense to you? This seems like a crazy moment that we're in not phone world.
You asked me if it makes sense to me. The idea makes sense to me. The what would this even be does not really make a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's talk this out a little bit, because I think if I'm OpenAI, I assume the thing I want is a ChatGPT forward device available to you at all times. Is there anything more to it than that? Do you think I'm missing anything here?
It seems like that. I mean, they're going through all the, they make all of these things where they just build the UI on the fly and they just move through intent-based operating. Like the main paradigm shift that I think a lot of these companies are trying to do is that they're trying to move from a tool-based model where you use your phone as a tool, each individual app is a tool, you jump to the tools, to an intent-based model where you can use natural language and your intent becomes the thing, and then the apps become the piping for the thing. But if you make a wholly new device that just tries to ignore all of these apps, what are people actually going to be doing, right? Because we use ChatGPT and we use Anthropic to like create things to then put on the tools that we use every day.
Right.
And this is where I get confused about what exactly are they trying to make?
Yeah, so I think even as a user, I struggle with the question of what this would look like in a way that I find compelling. And I think you're right that the thing they're trying to do is upend the idea that the first thing I do is open an app to do something, right? Every time I want to do anything, the first thing I have to do is open an app and log into that app. And I think there's actually a pretty strong argument to be made that sucks, that actually it's really inefficient, and remembering where everything is really complicated, and doing things that might exist between multiple platforms is vastly too complicated. I am a long-term believer that Apple Shortcuts is a terrible solution to a very real problem. So the idea of saying, okay, we want to flip that on its head and actually just let you worry less about where things are and sort of the individual silos on your phone and more about the thing you want to accomplish
100%
makes some sense to me. But I just don't think what I want is for my phone to unlock into a chat window.
Right.
Is there something else you can imagine that might look like?
Oh, that's hard.
This probably is like the many billion-dollar question that a lot of people are R&Ding their way through right now.
Yeah, it probably is. I assume that they probably have a bunch of ideas in a lab somewhere where you open your phone and they try to just guess your intent based on the things that you've done before. And the secondary model is to open a chat window. You know what I mean? They probably just want to try to predict what you want to do before you want to do it. But my question again becomes like, well, if apps don't exist, then what do you actually do with a device like this? And then maybe apps do exist. OpenAI, their device is apparently going to be an Android phone. Is that sort of the idea? It's like an Android-based device.
That seems to be the running theory. But Android-based device can mean a lot of things, right? You can run a version of Android that has absolutely nothing in common with what most people perceive to be an Android phone. Like your dishwasher is an Android device at this point. So I think that could mean a lot of things. But I do think there is a case to be made that it might be a regular normal Android phone with a very ChatGPT-ish launcher.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of see that. The hard part about that is like it feels like the idea of an app and the buttons inside of an app are buttons for a reason, right? Like if you're typing a prompt, that takes like so much longer than just like tapping a bunch of buttons to get to the point where you want to be. If you're on like a multi-chain, like do this with this app and then send it to this person and then edit it this way, I could see it being, based around typing or your voice or something like that. But right now, the like input mechanism of buttons is actually quite efficient compared to anything else that they might want to use it for. So
it's very true. Yeah. One very simple way I've been trying to think about this is, okay, what if you unlock your phone and the first thing it drops you to is not your home screen of app icons, but the Gemini app. And you can still, you can swipe again and get to your apps. And actually, in theory, they're all there, but we've just sort of flipped the layers, right? That the thing on top is the AI system, and underneath it is all of the apps that you maybe want to tap on. Does that do anything for you?
Okay, I'd say that the new Siri is probably a good way to look at this. Now, anytime I want to do basically anything, unless it's literally like texting the first person in my contacts list, I just pull down from the top and I ask Siri to do it.
Interesting.
So in a way, that is kind of what you're describing.
And that means you actually change that behavior fairly quickly. This is the thing I was going to ask you about, is how much inertia there is in smartphones. But if you were able to do that just in the course of a couple of developer betas, that strikes me as kind of a meaningful change to make very quickly.
I mean, I will say that at first I was only doing it because I wanted to pressure test Siri as much as I possibly could and see like, can it do this? Can it not do this? I don't think it can do this. Could it do it? But it has actually changed my behavior. And a lot of the time now I am just asking Siri questions. I mean, the biggest question is like, Google search revenue is going to disappear because, I'm just asking Siri all these questions, but Google already knows that.
Wait, give me an example. What kinds of things have you discovered you can offload to Siri AI?
Okay, so one big thing, I was on Instagram yesterday morning, so I guess that's not like the first thing I do when I open my phone, but I'm on Instagram and I see that my favorite band is going to announce tickets for the show that they're going to have in December. And it doesn't say anywhere on the screen when they're going to release the tickets. They just announced the show. So I scroll down the Siri thing and I said, can you remind me to buy tickets to this when they go on sale? So it like searched the web, found when they're going to go on sale, and then it created a reminder to buy the tickets at the exact time that they went on sale, which was this morning. And
that might be the single most impressive Siri demo anyone has ever done. Seriously, that's the dream. That's like the stuff they put in advertising videos that never actually work the way they're supposed to. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. The other question though becomes like, if it's using an Android phone or if it's using Gemini, like Google's kind of like paradigm for these AI based, for Gemini controlling your phone is that it's sort of agentically clicking around. So obviously like how the phone is controlled is very important. Apple's version of this is we're going to ask developers to put in all of these schemas and pipes to make sure that this actually works. Whereas Google's just tapping around. And so if you land on like a Gemini, you just land in Gemini, is it going to then swipe out of Gemini, enter another app, click on that app? Because the current version of that, as Allison has shown in her article, it like works, but it's very slow.
Yes.
And I think it's also going to require a lot of trust. If you just ask the ChatGPT app on your phone to order you Starbucks, there's a lot of trust built in there. Is it my right address? Yeah. Did it get my order correct? Did it remember to do 1 pump of vanilla instead of 2? I don't know. I think it might take a little while longer. And I'm very curious like what these companies are thinking deep down in their labs on how these interaction paradigms would actually work.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I think what's so funny about the Siri example is I think you both just described exactly why every company is running at this idea, because if you can do enough things like that for people, it starts to feel like a actually genuine paradigm shift in how we use our phones. And also, Apple is never, ever, ever, ever going to let anyone other than Siri do that thing, right? And so if you want to do that thing, you have to build something else. And this is, to be perfectly honest, like I don't spend a lot of my time feeling sympathy for OpenAI, SpaceX, and Amazon, but I do sort of feel for them in this case because you talk yourself into this long enough and you get to the point where to say, oh, to do that for David Imel, we have to have an Instagram app. And then you've built a smartphone. Like you just did it. You do that 3 times and you have made a smartphone. And you can see why everyone talks their way into phones. Like I remember talking to Carl Pei, the CEO of Nothing, years ago when they were starting, and he was like, I have, giant ideas about the future and we want to build lots of new things. I'm still waiting for any of those to come to fruition. But my question to him was, well, then why make a phone? Like you think you know what's next. Why make a phone now? Just start going and doing the next thing. And his answer was just essentially, we have to make a phone. If we don't do the phone, we can't do any of the rest of this. We have to make the thing that's in your pocket. We have to figure out how to make all of this work. And their answer has been build the ecosystem with, earbuds and all this other stuff, then try to sort of back that into some stuff that only works on the Nothing phone, and then presumably start to try and flip the form factor. So you like have to do it in a bunch of steps, but you do kind of have to make a phone first.
Right.
So do you think it's possible that at the end of this, OpenAI and Amazon and SpaceX, if they all ship something, it might just be an Android phone or something essentially identical to an Android phone?
I think it's essentially going to be an Android phone. I mean, we saw the Rabbit R1 like try to do something. Now, given that was super early and it didn't work and what they said it did, it couldn't really do. But that was also just an Android phone. You know what I mean? It was like, we made it a different shape. And, it's like, are there models embedded enough into your life for your daily interaction paradigms that you are going to want to use that model to interact with those things that you do every single day?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Google has the best shot with Gemini. Apple has a very good shot. You talked about the earbuds with the cameras. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their interaction paradigm with those cameras is going to be, but they already, like, if Carl Pei said we have to make the phone first and then we can make the smart things that attach to the Nothing phone later, that's exactly what Apple's doing.
Yeah.
A third party coming in and doing that, it's just like, is anybody that invested in Grok that they want a Grok device? Like, I don't like being pessimistic and being like, there is a duopoly, but there is a duopoly.
Support for the show comes from Even Realities. For a long time, the reality of smart glasses was that they were these bulky, inelegant pieces of tech that were much cooler in concept than in practice. A far cry from the sleek, stylish accessory of our sci-fi dreams that actually provides real functionality. Well, Even Realities has that fixed. Even G2 are productivity smart glasses designed to keep real-time support right in view. With teleprompting, conversation support, real-time translation, AI assistance, and more, they help you stay on top of work and daily life. And unlike most smart glasses, they're designed to look and feel like premium eyewear, with no camera and a lightweight 36-gram design you can wear all day. The more context you give them, the smarter they get, adapting to how you work and what you need. To learn more about Even G2, go to evenrealities.com and see how everyday smart glasses keep helpful information in sight so you can stay productive and hands-free throughout the day. And for our listeners, use promo code VERGE at evenrealities.com to get 10% off Even Ring 1 and or Even Clip when you add them to your Even G2 order. That's evenrealities.com, promo code VERGE. Support for the show comes from MongoDB. AI-assisted and agentic coding can help you build faster than ever. But if your data layer is a bottleneck, what's the point? MongoDB actually gets out of your way. MongoDB is a unified AI-ready data platform that empowers you to build scalable, generative AI applications. It eliminates the need for separate, specialized vector databases by combining a flexible document model natively with semantic vector search, full text search, and real-time operational data. Instead of wrestling with rigid schemas or translating data formats, MongoDB's native data model mirrors the language LLMs already speak. Plus, MongoDB gives you the flexibility to ship at the speed of AI. The ACID compliance lets you sleep soundly at night and scales to handle massive Fortune 500 workloads. Developers have a word for that kind of reliability. Actually, 5 words. It's a great freaking database. Start building at mongodb.com/AI.
At this point, particularly in the US, there are only 2 phones that matter. There's the iPhone and there's whatever Samsung shipped. That's it. I love the Pixel. I think more people should buy the Pixel. People don't buy the Pixel. People buy Samsung phones and they buy iPhones.
Yeah.
Is it even conceivable to you that OpenAI could show up with a pretty good Android phone and make a meaningful number of people switch?
What was the positivity rate around AI in the United States again? Like lower than the Democratic Party?
real bad.
I don't think they can do that. They might get like a quarter of San Francisco, maybe.
Yeah,
but they're not going to get anybody else. And also, the problem that puts you into as well is that if you buy a device made by a model maker, it's inherently, if not only going to work with that model maker, or works best with that model maker. And it doesn't really feel like a lot of people have allegiance to any particular model. I guess there's a little bit of allegiance to like Claude, but that's because they're supposedly the company that's trying to do the right thing.
Well, ironically, I think the allegiance to Claude is as much a referendum on people don't like OpenAI as it is anything else. Yeah,
that is also very true. But either, I mean, as soon as I'm a big believer in like these open source models are starting to get crazy. And as soon as RAM gets cheaper again, I think people are going to start running their own, especially at business scale. If you can buy RAM cheaply again, a lot of these open source models are almost as good. And you just really don't need to use any of these model providers. So I don't know. A device for me makes no sense. I think a smartphone running what these companies want you to use makes sense, and it is the most basic thing that we've always had, but disrupting that interaction paradigm is like, I don't see how you do it. Especially like you were saying, you either open up to a chat box, which is kind of annoying to open up to every single time you unlock your phone, or you have to talk to it. And the reason that things that you have to talk to in order to interact with them don't work is because we live in a society. So the Vision Pro, very isolating. Everything's isolating. Isolating things don't work.
I will say I am extremely bullish on doing more things on your phone with voice and fewer with a keyboard. Good dictation on a smartphone is life-changing. Like I did this big experiment earlier this year where I tried desperately to get rid of my iPhone, tried all the other Android phones, and then came back to the iPhone because I'm a deeply broken person. But
you and everybody else.
the biggest thing I discovered, my absolute favorite thing about the day-to-day experience of Android is how much better dictation was.
Oh my God.
Gemini is better. Voice recognition in general is vastly better on Android. But my ability to successfully type text messages on an Android phone leaps and bounds beyond what I've ever experienced on an iPhone. And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think in general, I've been testing all these dictation apps on the Mac too. And the idea that they're starting to understand which app you're in and actually communicate and transcribe differently based on the apps. I think that's pure AI, and that's very powerful and is going to be very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That is OpenAI showing up and being like, we have a better dictation model on our phone. You should buy our phone instead, is not going to work.
No.
But Amazon is the one of these that I'm the most stuck on because, right, Amazon 2014 tried the Fire Phone. Obviously didn't work, and it was full of bad ideas. I think the most bad idea being that what people mostly want is a closer connection to Amazon.com all the time. That is just not correct. And then there's been this reporting that Amazon is building a phone again. It's internally known as Transformer, which is a rad name for a phone. They should just call it that. But let me just read you 2 quotes. This is from a Reuters story about this phone.
Okay, I'm ready.
It says, the phone is seen as a potential mobile personalization device that can sync with home voice assistant Alexa and serve as a conduit to Amazon customers throughout the day, the people said. Quote number 2. As envisioned, the new phone's personalization features would make buying from Amazon.com, watching Prime Video, listening to Prime Music, or ordering food from partners like Grubhub easier than ever, the people said. God. Amazon has learned nothing, David. They're just doing it again.
Does anyone really want capitalism OS? That's basically what that is.
Truly.
It's just like, oh my God. I don't watch TV really at all. But I was over at a friend's place and they had a Prime TV show on. I think they were watching Fallout or something. I did not know that there are literal buttons on the ads that you can just buy and add to your Amazon cart while you're watching the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And I really feel like that's so Black Mirror. And I just don't... Nobody actually wants that. Like, nobody wants to have their escapism and just inject consumerism into their escapism. I don't see that working.
You know who wants that? Every ad executive in the world.
Jeff
they
Bezos
want you to want that so very badly. But yeah, this to me is Amazon. And there's even a line in that Reuters story that says Amazon understands that putting AI front and center in this way is actually not what people are looking for. So they decided to put Prime Video there.
What?
This to me is just like, this whole idea is just completely doomed on its face to me. I've only come up with one theory about what might work here and why all these companies might be doing this. And I just want to run this by you, and I want to know what you think.
Let's see.
I think there's a world in which a few years from now, most of the job of our phones, or if not most of the job, a lot of the job of our phones is essentially to be a brick of compute and network connectivity. And that actually trying to put a lot of LLM stuff and a lot of battery and a lot of processing into your headphones or your watch or whatever else is a bad idea. But if you can just have a brick full of battery and LTE in your pocket at all times, you don't need that. You can do all the stuff you want to do with your nifty headphones through the phone. And that's actually, no one will feel like that's weird because that's how we've been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah.
So maybe if I'm OpenAI, what I'm trying to do is not sell you a thing that makes phone calls and sends text messages and open Instagram at all. What I'm trying to sell you is literally just a box of ChatGPT, but that's not even the point. The point is just to be compute, battery, network connectivity. And that if they can figure out a way to do that that is slim and good looking and does give you some kind of readout when ChatGPT needs to show you something, that maybe that can work. This is the only theory I've come up with that makes any sense to me. I want to know what you think.
My question becomes, why didn't they just move forward with the earbuds that leaked that were fake with Scored and Iverson or whoever that guy was?
Fair, yeah.
You know, that makes a lot more sense. I think making earbuds that are specially tuned to work with ChatGPT in some way and having them like connect to your phone and work really well with the ChatGPT app. And when you set it up, it recommends that you change your default model to ChatGPT. Like, why do they need to work into building the actual box themselves? Like that is the hardest part. Building the box and getting people to buy the box is by far the hardest part. Yeah. It's easy to just build an accessory. Like, and an accessory is like lower cost, easier to get people to buy, easier for people to use, changing their paradigms with, if you already have to buy earbuds, just buy the OpenAI earbuds if you're really into ChatGPT. I don't know. I don't see any sort of acceleration mechanism in a dedicated device. Google made the Tensor chip specifically because it really wanted to accelerate AI workflows, and that was before generative AI. It was when they were just doing all the, machine learning stuff. And that has worked out well for them. Part of the reason that the voice dictation you're talking about is better is because Tensor is very good at voice dictation. So it's like, I don't know. I still don't understand this hardware. They might be thinking something that I just am not even aware of, but it makes no sense to me. I think they should all make accessories. I would love to see, Anthropic Ring or OpenAI earbuds or Mini Max shoes or something. I don't know. Anything.
Yeah,
anything
AI
that you're
shoes
normally
is
going to
an
use.
idea whose time has come. Yeah.
It will happen. It will happen.
I mean, I do think the problem with that theory, again, especially in the US, is that a lot of people use iPhones and you just can't get that kind of access to an iPhone, especially for free, right? Apple is happy to give you lots of things for 30%. And I think the obvious, like the animating principle at Meta right now, I earnestly believe this in my bones. The main thing Meta is working on is ways around the Apple tax. That is like the leading product at Meta is how do we get around the Apple tax? And I think there's a lot of that going on at these other companies too, where there is a sense that if we give, if we build an accessory to the iPhone, actually what we're doing is we're inviting Apple to just Sherlock us with AirPods. And that what we need to do is we need to get around it entirely. And many have tried for 15 years. This was the idea behind the metaverse. There was some of this in all of the blockchain stuff. This is part of the animating principle behind smart glasses. We've been at this a long time. And it's kind of why I think this question of what are these non-phone phones is so interesting. Because I do think if there is a way around them, it is not to invent some completely new thing. It's to make better phones. It's possible, again, that they're so entrenched that everybody just buys the next iPhone or the next Galaxy phone, that none of this matters anyway. But like if I sort of Galaxy brain my way into this, right? We're doing flip phones again, we're doing fold phones again. There is more energy than ever for people to get away from their phones, so that maybe there is a sliver of saying we have a new way to do it that might be something.
Yeah.
But then you go back to what you just said. People don't like AI. I don't know. I'm completely lost here as to what avenue in these companies could find. I understand why they're looking for it, and I can't find it.
I mean, OpenAI is trying to build their own chips, right? So maybe in this fab, they're going to build smartphone chips, and maybe those smartphone chips will have accelerators for specific AI-based tasks. Maybe. But then you're still using Android, right? So if you want to use Android and if you want to interact with the apps people use every day, you still have to use the Play Store, which also takes a percentage. It's not like the Apple tax is the only tax on the highway. But you could just not use the Google Play Store, but then if ChatGPT is the only app on your phone, what can that even do? I don't, unless OpenAI decides to build like a competitive ecosystem for every single thing that you do on your phone every single day. Are they going to build a Venmo that like enough people will use that they don't have to think about? Maybe this is Elon Musk's idea with X being the everything app, and like they made a Grok phone. It next could do your social media and also your payments.
Sure. That's where we're going, apparently.
People also don't like Elon Musk. So you got to get people to like you. This is like, I feel like they've really, I don't even know what the right term is here, but the number one thing they need to do is get people to like their product before they try to sell a bunch of said product.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. So to that end, actually, I want you to rank these three companies for me. Let's just say Amazon, SpaceX, OpenAI all ship something that is just a very AI-centric smartphone.
Okay.
Like you define that however you want, but we're going to say they all sort of ship. I want you to rank 1 to 3 how you think they'd do.
Oh God.
I think this exercise is very easy for me,
difficult,
which is why I'm curious.
Okay.
I found it. I immediately know the answer for me, and I want to know
would the
if
SpaceX AI phone only have X on it, or would it have other?
Good question.
That's the question.
I mean, ironically, I want to say yes for the purposes of this exercise, but also given the way that Elon Musk has systematically kicked every other platform out of X, I just feel like there's no shot Elon Musk lets you install Instagram on your SpaceX phone.
That's true.
I just don't see it. But let's
Yeah,
just say, for the purposes of our exercise, yes,
Okay.
these are sort of feature-wise, functionally the same kinds of devices.
Okay, I'm close on OpenAI and SpaceX AI being number one.
Okay.
I think, funny enough, it seems like SpaceX AI being like 4 to 5 companies bundled into one kind of diluted their individual hate for any of the individual companies a
totally
little
true.
bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, now when you think about Twitter, you're thinking about SpaceX, and people don't dislike SpaceX that much. Like some people
Totally.
do, but so I would say SpaceX AI would be the most likely to win, in my opinion. The OpenAI phone would be number 2, and I just do not see the Amazon phone unless
That's
it was
my
like
list
on
too.
sale on Prime Day for like $20. You know,
Yeah, they did that with the Fire
With the
phone. Turned out nobody wanted it.
and it's still nobody wanted it. Yeah,
Yeah, this was my
True.
list too, if only because Elon Musk, for all of his flaws, has a long history of being able to just horsepower things like this into existence. And there are enough Elon fans out there that they would buy it. And I think you're exactly right that about the dilution of branding problems. And I think that is a big, giant part of the reason that all of this has happened. Because you can say whatever you want about this company, but it is objectively rad that they launch and land rockets.
exactly.
It just rules. And so all they need to do is keep that image in your head and don't think so much about the rest, and everything will be
Yeah.
fine. And
Yeah.
and I think they can possibly do that successfully enough and tell a story about Starlink. And I think Starlink might end up buying a carrier, put the phone on that carrier. Like you can sort of see how that thing works. I don't think it becomes the iPhone, but I can sort of see how it would work. I also think they wouldn't make that thing. They would make a Grok phone, and it would be a disaster.
That's what I was about to say. Less people know about the Grok child porn image stuff than people know about the fact that they dislike Sam Altman. But even less people know that Grok actually exists. So I don't think that they're going to be necessarily swayed by Grok. I think the dilution of Rocket Company makes a phone is probably more interesting to people, and Grok is just a side thing. They'll just say, "Oh, it has AI capabilities."
Yeah, I agree with
which
that.
is sad because Grok is like the worst model in terms of what it's done for the world. But
Yes, Grok is a horrific disaster that
Yeah.
no one should ever interact with ever.
that's right.
But rockets are cool, and
But
it is
rockets
possible
are
to hold both of those ideas in your head at the same time. And this is
true.
what we have to do here.
Yeah.
And then I agree. I had OpenAI second because I actually think if OpenAI had made a ChatGPT centric phone in like 2023, it might have had a real chance because the adoption was so huge. It seemed so exciting. There was so much enthusiasm about what was going on.
Yeah.
We hadn't really had time for people who are going to develop these workflows to already develop these workflows. I think even if they ship this thing, there are going to be a lot of people who say, well, I have ChatGPT voice mode wired to the action button on my iPhone. How is this more useful and ChatGPT centric than that? And that's a set of power users who are already starting to learn how they do these things and are going to be hard to get to change. And everyone's opinion about Sam Altman, OpenAI, and AI in general has changed in the last 3 years. And I think that it is still a hugely successful, very used product that I think people don't like nearly as much as they did a few years ago. And then Amazon, abject disaster.
I just
don't
don't even
build a
know
phone,
why they're
Amazon.
trying. Just don't build a phone.
I admire the code name. I admire the effort. Just kill the project, guys. This ain't it.
I just don't even think that people associate SpaceX AI with data centers, which, they're not, they probably don't have as many built out as OpenAI, et cetera, but they do have the mega data center thing that they're releasing to Anthropic.
Yeah.
And
Colossus.
They are a major data center player, but people don't associate them with it because there's just too many things to associate with that company because it's X and it's a rocket company and it's an AI company, but nobody thinks about the AI company. So yeah, OpenAI is directly like people's grievances are directly associated with OpenAI. When they think about artificial intelligence, it's like they're the ones building the data centers in my backyard. They're the reason RAM is so expensive. They're the reason that everyone's getting noise pollution in small towns.
Yep.
It's not great for them. Their
That's a
PR is
big
not
branding
good.
hole to get out of if you want to sell somebody a smartphone.
Maybe just merge with 4 other companies and you'll be okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
McDonald's, Taco Bell, OpenAI.
Oh,
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
Everybody loves
Yeah,
Taco Bell.
You could never. That's true. That's a great point. That's a great point. That would help a lot, honestly.
I think so. It's an idea whose time has come for sure. All right, David, thank you for being here. If anyone out there has worked on one of these phones, has ideas about how these things should work, if you think you've figured out the next UI paradigm, if it's not a bunch of apps on a screen and it's not a chatbot, what is it? I honestly want to know. Send us concepts, send us your ideas, send us weird things that you've worked on that you think are rad. I want to hear all about it. And then David, as this stuff gets more real, you and I are going to have to talk about this again.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get into it.
Good to see you, bud. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you.
All right, that's it for the show. Thank you to David for being here, and thank you, as always, for watching and listening. I was serious, by the way. If you have even thoughts about this, I would love to see ideas, see concepts. If you've built something funky that you think might be the future of AI on a smartphone, how to marry this idea of I want to open apps and look at them with sometimes I want to use an AI agent to go do things on my behalf. This is the interface question, I think, of like the next decade. And if you have thoughts, I would absolutely love to hear all of them. Call the hotline 866-VERGE11. Send us an email, vergecast@theverge.com. Looking forward to hearing from you. As a reminder, the best thing you can do to support everything The Verge is up to is to subscribe to The Verge. TheVerge.com/subscribe. It gets you all of our podcasts ad-free, including this one. It gets you all of our exclusive newsletters. It gets you all of our coverage of whatever these weird phones turn out to be. Whenever they launch, we will be there. And so can you. TheVerge.com/subscribe. The Vergecast is a Verge production and part of the Vox Media Podcast Network. The show is produced by Josh Kajas, Eric Gomez, Brandon Kiefer, Travis Larchuk, and Aaron LaCasio. We'll see you tomorrow. Rock and roll.